Sarah from The Upcoming, a real pleasure to have you both here in London. Maybe you could just begin with a brief introduction to this incredible film, Bardo. What can audiences expect if they watch it, and also a bit about each of your characters?
Well, like we just told you, watching it was like a dream, and after we watched it, we had a really good deep talk about it, and that kind of gave us a better perception of everything, and having all of these elements that we saw through the filming, coming all these parts together, making this beautiful and legendary piece. It was such a satisfying feeling.
I think overall, finding an audience for it, I think everyone could watch it and get something out of it and relate to it in a certain way. I think it is a movie that, for someone that is having sort of these conscious and spiritual or
transitions,
these transitory experiences in their life where, change, and they're beginning to question things internally and externally. I think it's definitely for that person who has questions. I'm not saying you'll get answers out of the film. I think you'll come out with more questions, as Alejandro always tells us, and it's very true. But I think definitely for for someone also who wants to enjoy a beautiful journey, not only emotionally, but also I think acting wise, I think cinematography, everything is just so well done. So I think anyone could watch it and get something out of it for sure.
And we already know Alejandro's such a visionary director. If you go back to his Amores Perros,
everything,
Birdman, The Revenant, but this feels like his most autobiographical or his most reflective, and equally is so ambitious in the scale and the meticulous execution. So what was the appeal for you, and what was it like working with him?
Well, he says it's not a autobiography. He says it's a emography. It's an emotional biography. So I feel it's love in this other side, and you can really see it. But like Ximena said, it's really easy to feel a doc with the movie, with your person. It's a state of mind, and I believe it's in a different stage in your life that you go through. So if you're in this part of your life where you try to question everything, and you're trying to go deep into the waters, this is a movie you should watch.
Yeah, and I think it is personal to him, but he wrote and directed in such a beautiful way that it's personal to everyone who sees it. I think we all find scenes there that it hits home. And I think that was also his intention, and that's also the part of the title. It's a false chronicle of a handful of truths, because it's based on this truth and these universal truths. But at the end of the day, it's a narrative, and it will always have these magical, surreal elements too, as well. So I think that's something he does so incredibly with it. He's this very experienced painter, and he is so eloquent with his work, and working with him as well, which was I think it's just such a special experience for both of us, very surreal as well. We always tell people we're still in this Bardo ourselves, and it's a great metaphor sort of to explain how wild it is and how we're still part of this journey with him. And we became a family with Daniel and Griselda as well, who plays Silverio and Lucia, and I think there was always trust with Alejandro and this personal feeling, and it's still there. And so it was just really lucky to get to work with such a great man.
And what was it like being on the shoot? Because I'm watching some of these scenes, and although they're kind of blurring that line between dream and reality, they feel so tangible. So I don't know how they were pulled off. So what were some of the maybe highlights or most memorable bits of being on the shoot?
Well, there is this set where the Silverio's apartment is in the middle of the desert. And it's cool because when we were in Mexico City, in Churubusco, we filmed part of that scene, the beginning of it. And it's they filled the whole apartment with sand. So we filmed that there, and we were like, why does it have sand now? What is going on? And then we went to Baja, and we were on the desert filming other things. And we saw the set, and we saw the apartment in the middle of the desert, and everything started to make sense. But it's crazy how specific and how perfect executed everything was.
Yeah, and it might feel improvised, many moments of it, because of how precise it is and how much it flows, but I think that's another genius part of how Alejandro works, is it was just so rehearsed. He does say that this is his most controlled project because it was so specific, his goals and intentions there. So we rehearsed and we knew line by line, movement by movement, so it flows like water. And I think it's when you see the film, you feel that. It doesn't feel staged. It doesn't feel, forced. It just sort of happened and works.
Yeah.
Every accident, every mistake, it's purposeful, and yeah.
The elements flow. They're really present. This water element of how the scenes come, like a splash of water, and
definitely that had pressure on
again.
us to get it right, But I think. He encouraged us to sort of surrender to that and just trust that it would go well, and it always did. So
yeah, he always let us know that we were capable of what he wanted us to do.
Yeah, and
that made us really sure if we were doing a great job.
He also he's not like, oh, it has to be perfect. Like, perfect was never a word he used. It was just he had this vision, and as soon as the scene, even if it wasn't exactly what he had in mind or on paper, when he felt it was right, that was the moment.
If he communicated what he wanted to communicate, even the scene was different than the first one. That's what he wanted.
And just very quickly, in terms of the takeaways, I think there's so many fascinating elements in there, and the nature of memory and identity, but particularly from your character's point of view, that kind of intergenerational aspect of identity, and kind of the current generation feeling quite different from the old generation. So what did you take away, perhaps?
I think definitely there are moments that, you're crossing, you're going through immigration and you feel a little, rejected, or you feel, it's difficult to kind of like cross these borders. And I think for our generation, less so. I would like to think so. I would like to think that we're slowly getting to a place of more freedom with that. So I hope that this film sort of does talk about that in a way that, the world can see that, and there can be a change.
Yeah, I feel not as specifically in my life, I can reflect to the character, but I feel a lot of kids from all around the world, and I think specifically like South America will understand and will feel connected to this character, because a lot of them go through these things, having to migrate to another place and having all these troubles and nostalgia all the time.
There's also an anger that I feel like it's finally being expressed, and with that expression, there can be that change.
A lot of things have been said now.
Yeah.
Well, I'm out of time, but thank you so much for sharing all that with us.
Thanks
Can't wait
to
for
you.
everyone else to see this incredible film. Thanks so much.